What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the internet where your cesspool is my jacuzzi. I feel like I haven't been live in a while, have I? I did like a Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni live with Schnitzel Ninja last week or something. I'm not positive though. Um, I've been having fun kind of playing around with things, and then as most of you know, I started my podcast this week, so um, I just had a lot going on, so I haven't been doing a lot of lives, and I definitely haven't been talking a lot about this case because there's just been way more interesting stuff going on in the world. So I'm happy to be back with you guys to give my comments on today's little update. Lots of weird stuff being put out into the universe today. But before we get into that, I just have a couple housekeeping issues. My first one is a lot of us here we're kind of like we came into this little kind of community now that we have because we all shared the same opinion and about like wanting justice for the men who were abused in these cases with Laura Owens. But as I get into different content, which I have never done before because this was like the first thing I really did on YouTube was cover this case. um, People aren't always going to agree with me. The people in the comments aren't always going to agree with each other. So what I want to point out is I have had some people who I've always known to be like very supportive. I've enjoyed chatting with. I'm like happy to see when they're in the stream and all that. Um, get pretty heated when we have different opinions on like the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively stuff, or anything else, and like I'm totally for like differing opinions and conversations and stuff like that, as long as we can like respect each other. So I'm just gonna say this for now because I saw a couple comments that were like maybe not so nice to me because they didn't agree with my opinions on the whole Justin and Blake thing. Um, please be respectful. There's no need to attack anyone's character. If Justin don't like Blake, if you like Blake, don't like Justin, like if you don't believe one side or the other and somebody else does, there is no reason to really feel this like deep sense of like resentment or disappointment or like call someone names because of that. Because the truth is, none of us know these people. We're simply all reacting in our own way, giving our own opinions on like a public interest case involving two public figures who are very famous, and well, three, I guess, public figures who are very famous, and we none of us know them. So I've, accumulated some not so nice comments. Some of them I've deleted, some of them I've responded to. And I just want to say, like, be respectful. If somebody's, coming in and calling me names and stuff like that, from now on, I'm just not going to respond. I'm not going to interact with that person anymore. It sucks because obviously I love being able to interact with all of you, but like some people just like get really intense really quickly, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense to attack someone who you like regularly interact with over a bunch of random celebrities you don't know because you have different opinions. Like I get it. I get the strong opinions for sure, but there's no need to be so like on the warpath. So like I will never you're not going to catch me like telling somebody they're stupid because they have a different opinion than me on the Blake Lively thing. Like you're not going to catch me like insulting their character or anything like that. Like I would simply just say if I didn't agree with somebody, um, hey, I don't. That's just really not the vibe that I'm getting. But my understanding of like the sources that I've read and stuff like that is X, Y, Z. This is why I don't think that. Or I would just say, that's an interesting point. I haven't thought about it that way, and leave it at that. Like we don't need to fight. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be a fight. It's an absolutely unnecessary waste of emotions to fight over these rich people who are ultimately only going to make money off of this publicity while we sit here fighting with each other. So like, I love being able to talk to people about all this stuff, but let's just chill, please. Rein it in. Like I'm not gonna fight with anybody. I'm just gonna stop talking to you. If you're gonna be a dick to me, I'm just gonna stop talking to you. And that's not to say like anybody thus far has said anything to me that like really crossed a line. I mean, there's been a couple things here and there that have been like, hey, I don't really appreciate that, or hey, like this is how this made me feel, and like that's okay. I mean, we got through that, right? But from here on out, just knowing where I'm going, like with my YouTube channel, is in like covering other content and stuff like that. From here on out, if somebody's being super rude to me, I'm just not going to talk to them anymore. That's just how it's going to be. So it sucks, but that's just how it has to be sometimes. All right. Now, second, if you know who Buck Angel is, please tell me right now in the comments. If you know who Buck Angel is, let me know in the comments. Buck Angel is a transsexual man. And he's like one of the more outspoken, I don't want to say activists, one of the more outspoken like members of the transsexual community who has like some strong opinions that the rest of the LGBT community kind of doesn't like. And he and I actually share some opinions, some stuff that I'm going to get a lot of backlash for, but I'm actually going to be on Buck Angel's show tentatively tomorrow. So it will most likely be tomorrow afternoon. And I, as you guys know, I was an NCAA swimmer. I swam at Florida and then I swam at Arizona. And we're going to talk a little bit about some uncomfortable topics that I've been kind of too afraid to breach, but that I really feel like it's important to speak out and like have nuanced conversations about. So like for the first time, I'm going to speak out on some things that I've been too afraid to talk about, like the trans women in sports debate that people have been having, and especially with the specifics of Leah Thomas and NCAA swimming and stuff like that. So that's going to be pretty cool. If something changes and it's not happening tomorrow, I'll let you guys know. But if it is happening tomorrow, check my X or my YouTube community page or my Patreon. Guys, you can get free updates from my Patreon. The link is in the description of this video. I'll let you know because it's going to be kind of a big thing for me because I really love listening to Buck. And like, I felt like Buck was one of the people who helped me, kind of realize it's okay for me to not agree with the LGBT community all the time. It's okay for me not to agree all the time with liberals or all the time with conservatives. It's okay. Like, I'm allowed to feel the way that I feel, and it's not irrational. It's not crazy. So that is going to be pretty cool. I'm excited about that. And then the last housekeeping issue with the podcast, I don't know if you guys have seen it. So I'm going to drop a link just to plug that in the chat right here. Hang on. And I'm going to show you the first 60 seconds of it if you didn't see it. This is the kind of stuff I'm going to be covering from now on. I'm going to like kind of try to give like a rational kind of outside perspective take on some issues that are kind of hot button, on some issues that people are like really heated about. So here is the first 60 seconds of that podcast. If you want to watch the rest of it, feel free. I put the link right there. And it'll be on my YouTube channel. I'm thinking once a week right now, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I may actually tie in a little bit of the Laura Owens stuff to that because I might do my own version of like a TLDR just from my perspective, how I got involved and how this has all gone for me. And so if anybody would be interested in listening to that, let me know, because if not, then I won't do that. But, all right. Here was my first podcast episode, and I'm just going to show you the intro. I'm not going to play too much of it. Give me 1 second. That the fat phobia you experience as a small fat. What are some ways you amplify more marginalized, fatter, darker, caste-oppressed voices? Still can't get over the fact that they call themselves infinity fats and death fats? What is a death fat?
The title of my session is named after one of my books called You Have the Right to Remain Fat, which came out in 2018.
All the overweight people have the food in their tummy. So they would live longer than the people who aren't overweight.
But quickly, life changed for me. I became sick and my health took a sharp turn. At that moment, I didn't know how much time I had left. The weight of that was crushing.
Come on. She's throwing me softballs here. You guys know how I like softball. I'm a lesbian. All right. So the podcast is called The Court of Random Opinion. So I am not a judge. I am not a lawyer. This is not actually a court of law, but sometimes I see stuff like this and I feel a little bit judgmental. So that's how that's going. My podcast is on iTunes, Bronco Fett, but I only have one episode so far. It's on Spotify. and it's in YouTube. So there's going to be some stuff I'm working on with that. I actually did form my LLC, so I have my own business now, so that's pretty cool. Never saw that happening, especially a year ago when I started YouTube, which was, it's just like I could never in a million years have imagined doing this. So sorry for rambling, guys, but like I said, I had some housekeeping issues I had to cover. But now let's get into the actual stuff that you guys came here to listen to. Hey, Zach, I love you too. All right. Bet Lauren liked rugby too. I have never watched it. And I actually don't like watching baseball or softball, but it's just such a stereotype that I have to play on that. All right. So, Laura Owens' attorney, who I try not to say his name or write his name in my content anymore, but honestly, it's just easier for me to say David. I don't really care that much. So David, Laura's attorney, put out a video today explaining some stuff that's going on with the appeal. Now, I was at work at the hospital today from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., so I couldn't really watch it. And even if I, could have, I just, I don't want to see that. The reason I don't want to watch it is not because I don't care what he has to say, actually. It's actually just because he threatened to sue me over something ridiculous. So I, talked to some other people who did watch it. I read through a little bit of the transcript on YouTube, which means I did go to his channel. I did click on the video, not doing anything illegal there. Just, simply don't want to watch it. So I have some thoughts, and my friends had some thoughts that I'm going to share with you. Unfortunately, my friend Schnitzel Ninja is not available tonight. And then Bruce, I believe, is also busy tonight. So it's just me, and that's fine because I have some stuff I need to do tonight before I go to bed after this. So let's see. So this is a video talking about, like Clayton's appeal response and David's thoughts on that. So he starts, talking about what's happened since his last video, which was when he and Laura read some of the appeal brief. I don't think they read the entire appeal brief, but they read some of it. So he says, he's really busy, would prefer not to do this, but he's doing it anyways. And I think, like, if you want to do videos, man, just own it. It's cool. Own it. Do your thing. Like, I don't care. I feel like I've been so removed from this. And I said this when I was in Australia too, which is when the guy decided he was going to threaten to sue me. I'm like so removed from this right now, but I'm not angry. I don't hate this guy. I just like, he's kind of like a, shoe, you know what I mean? Like kind of a gnat sometimes, but whatever. I don't hate the guy. Okay. So he says the reply brief is due on Wednesday, and he says there's a chance that it might not happen due to a technical problem. So this technical problem is related to, obviously, Clayton's appeal brief. He thinks that, JFC or whatever thinks that Clayton's brief was a slam dunk. He's very, excited for people to see the reply. He says it's done, and he's ready to file it. And then said something along the lines of, is it a dunk on Clayton? I don't think dunk is a big enough word. So, very confident as usual. But the problem with like hyper confidence like that is if you don't, follow through or get the result every time, then people are going to have a hard time believing you. And if you get the result that you predicted none of the time, why would anyone believe you? You know what I mean? So like the overconfidence is a little much to me, but that's just my opinion. Slug Entertainment, did you know that Shizzy Wiznut has a foot fetish? I did know that. I did. The Zohan, thank you for the $2 super rude super chat. Oh my god, I'm offended. Cat Lady Ballerina, thank you for the 2. Is the technical problem that he's a ding dong? I don't know about that, man. All right. So let's get into these. I have some more detailed notes here. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Okay. And then we also have a Reddit post from our friend Hito Izakura that I'm going to show you guys a little bit of because, they always have some really good opinions. I'm always interested in reading what they have to say. And I'm still very annoyed that that stupid subpoena was filed, and I'm glad that Reddit is fighting it. So, all right. He says that a technical issue came up, and it's impossible for them to file the reply because of it. When he first read Clayton's brief, he didn't focus on the facts, but focused on the legal arguments and if he had missed any new cases, which is like, didn't focus on the facts. That's okay. He says, when I had looked at Clayton's response, I didn't look at the facts. Why would I? I know the facts. I went straight to the legal argument. The facts are important. And like the audience that this person is like putting this YouTube video out to, we're not lawyers. We're not judges. We're not really interested. Well, I'm not going to say we're not, because like some people are, but I personally, and a lot of people personally, are not interested in the technical legal arguments that could potentially get, somebody off after they did something terrible. I'm interested in like the world finding out that it wasn't actually Clayton or Mike or Greg who did something wrong, that they were the ones who were wronged, and that the court system was weaponized against them. I'm interested in seeing their names cleared. I'm interested in seeing, the justice system actually do justice. But if not, like, it's not going to just go away like, oh, she won the appeal, so obviously she was pregnant. Like, just like he says, it doesn't matter if she lied, she might still win the appeal. Like, that's not the important thing to me. That's why I'm the court of random opinion, right? So, okay. So he starts talking about his fees. Shit like that. When he's talking about his fees, he says Woodnick has that hourly rate of $6.50. And he says because he's representing Laura pro bono, he's allowed to increase his fee if awarded. And that, whatever reasonable fee there is, it varies on a lot of factors. So he said something along the lines of he may get a fee that works out to $5,000 an hour, depending on how much risk he took. He says that he will add a 50% risk factor to his hourly rate of $6.50, making it $9.75. So when I'm reading these notes, because I put down some notes from what I watched, but like I said, I was at work, so I couldn't really watch all this. And then I have some notes from like just what people told me when they saw it. So I'm seeing these notes and I'm thinking like, this guy's having a dick measuring contest with Greg Woodnick, who really just wants to get away from him and not see his penis. So like, just stop. It's the obsession and the weird, like, angry man crush at Greg Woodnick is just a special kind of thing. Hey, Julia, how you doing? All right. So, he says it would be ironic if the judgment was reversed and Laura owed nothing, but Clayton owed Laura $150,000. Imagine if the justice system failed so hard that Clayton owed Laura money. Like, that would be so sad. Okay, so he starts talking about the technical problem. And he says, the Court of Appeals in Tucson, they're not familiar with the case, so they're kind of like starting from scratch. He says they do have all the documents, but they're not going to sit and read them all. I don't really know, like, would they really not read them all? I mean, that is kind of their job, no? Okay. So he says it's important to get them the accurate information. But the accurate information would involve you including and actually paying attention to a lot more than you're actually admitting to in your initial filing, but okay. So he says Clayton's brief has like a ton of errors, or I don't know if he said a ton, but he said multiple errors. He says they could be intentional lies by Marcus, who is the lawyer doing the appeal from Greg Woodnick's law firm. So he says it might be intentional lies by Marcus and Greg Woodnick. So he says the number one possibility is that they intentionally lied to the court, which is, it's just like comes so far out of left field. Like, why would you even say that? We don't even know what he's talking about yet, but he says, I would believe that for Woodnick. Woodnick is that kind of guy. He's unsure if Marcus is also lying and does not want to assume the worst. But you kind of just did. Okay. So he says he's not sure if they'll be able to file the brief because of this issue. So I think it's supposed to be filed, what is it, on Wednesday? I have it somewhere in here, but I don't know where I wrote it down. But it's supposed to be filed this week, and now they're not sure if they're going to file it this week because of this error. He says the error is on page 39 of Clayton's brief relating to Judge Mata's independent research on the internet about Planned Parenthood's business hours. He says Marcus argues that it's not a big deal if the judge uses Google, and the legal standard is harmless error analysis. So he starts talking about harmless error. Like harmless error is much easier for the court to deal with. But if harmless error is the correct legal standard, then he doesn't get a new trial and the judge could be affirmed. I don't totally understand that one, guys. That was one of my friend's notes. So I'm never going to lie and say like I totally know 100% what I'm talking about when it comes to like small legal things, because I think that like not having extreme knowledge in an area of not my expertise, that doesn't make me dumb. I don't think that makes anyone dumb. Just makes you human and like grounded. So, like I've always said, David knows more about tiny explicit law stuff than me, because I work in mental health. I work in healthcare. I don't work in the legal field. So that doesn't make me dumb. And it doesn't make me easy to gaslight like he thinks that it is easy to gaslight people. But, whatever. Angela Quinn, thank you for the 5. You are looking great, happy, healthier. You seem to have learned to shine through the haters. And going to be great on here. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's been, it's been a couple weeks now that I've been just really trying to do better. So it's working out so far. No complaints. All right. Okay. David quotes from Clayton's brief. This is not my note. This is someone else's. David quotes from Clayton's brief, which states that Laura already admitted to altering the image and to providing Clayton a 7-year-old sonogram video of twins she obtained online months earlier. So David and Laura think this is a false statement of fact. So that's kind of my question here was, did she actually admit to the sonogram video being like from YouTube? Did she actually admit that? Because I don't recall that. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just don't recall that. And it also could have been in the deposition, which we have not seen. Hold on, give me one sec. If anybody in the chat recalls that being admitted to. Okay, so I know she admitted to altering the sonogram photo. I just didn't know if she admitted to altering the video. So, and maybe that's getting a little nitpicky, but I'm not sure. Because there were obviously multiple fake sonograms / ultrasounds, which I think it's hilarious that they're saying she didn't lie about all this stuff or she never admitted to this stuff. And I'm just kind of like, the public doesn't care about that. Like, the public has seen that she forgot to remove the Fiverr logo. The public has seen that she stole someone else's ultrasound. Oh my God, that was fast, dude.
I've been sitting here watching you.
Oh God. Wow. No, but anyways, you sent me that voice note earlier, and so I was wondering if you could shed some light on what was going on here. So what exactly are they saying? Like, they're saying she did not admit to the video?
So I think the biggest problem that comes up with this statement is the phrasing that's surrounding how Marcus wrote it. Mm-hmm. Because it says Laura admitted to altering the image, referring to the SMIL Planned Parenthood thing, and then he uses and then he posts the other piece of where was it? I was actually reading Hito's piece on it.
Oh yeah, I have that pulled up.
I'm just trying to find where the actual statement is. I've got the picture too. I can look at.
Is this what you were looking at?
That's what I was looking at, but
Gotcha.
I was looking for the statement, and it says, and to providing Clayton a 7-year-old sonogram video of twins she obtained online months earlier.
Mhm.
And because this case goes so deep, it's difficult to remember or understand what video we're talking about. I believe that this is referring to the sonogram video that was referenced during the injunction against harassment hearing
Mhm.
Under Judge Judy.
Okay.
And with
I know you
that,
said Judge Judy, but it sounds like Judge Judy as well. So maybe Judge Judy should have his own show where he's just like really bad at doing his job. I don't know. Anyways, go on.
yeah. So if we look at this at the statement of what Marcus said, Laura admitted to, and if you remove altering that image, then they're saying that Laura admitted to providing Clayton the 7-year-old sonogram video she obtained online earlier.
Mhm.
And in their camp, they're saying Laura didn't admit to all of those words, if any of them.
Yeah.
And what may have occurred was saying that, did Laura send the sonogram video that was a focal point of the injunction against harassment hearing?
Mhm.
And then Marcus says, well, she admitted to the video, and we know this other information about the video, that it was from a sonogram provider out of Massachusetts that was made in like 2017 or whatever.
That's true. Yeah.
And then attaching those facts into that statement.
Okay.
And because we know that this lawyer will frequently say, well, that was before my time, I don't know this. And we already know that the injunction against harassment hearing and the other protective order hearing were attached to this hearing for the purposes of fees and costs.
Right.
That all of that record would have been included and understood when the judgment came out.
Right.
Which is how Mata would be able to make some factual findings regarding those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just get very confused because he kind of like tries to dance around stuff, and I'm just like, that actually is not exactly what happened, but okay. Let me see here. Where was I? Okay. So he was explaining the whole harmless error thing versus the what was it called?
Structural error versus harmless error doctrine.
Yeah, that was it. And then he was saying the quote from Clayton's brief that says Laura already admitted to altering the image and to providing Clayton his 7-year-old sonogram is a false statement of fact. The brief cites Record of Appeal item 126, which is Mata's ruling. And he says that Mata's ruling states, petitioner provided respondent with a sonogram that was posted on YouTube. Petitioner admitted to this during her deposition. David said this is a big effing deal. He explained that if Laura admitted this, a judge wouldn't like her very much and that it's fucked up if she admitted this. I mean, we haven't seen the deposition, so.
See, but here's the thing. Those of us who have been following this case very early and well before this lawyer happened to be acquired for this case, we know that, and Dave Neal has gone over the videos and the sonograms, and even the lawyer said in his video, he's like, if someone was to have actually done this, that'd be pretty terrible of them to do. And it's like, yeah, and we know she did it. So like, how in the world are you just like, oh, well, it doesn't matter at this point? It's like, dude, do you not understand that you are so frustrated at an amount of people who have been able to look at these facts and understand what's going on and make a determination on it?
It's definitely like just pretending like people don't have common sense type of thing. Like, you're only allowed to look at this and this and this, but that's not how the general public works. I mean, this isn't a courtroom. You're not allowed to. Well, you're allowed to lie to the public. Like you can leave stuff out when you're talking to the public, but if they catch you on it, they're allowed to be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So like, again, I just feel like he has a hard time relating to people on a human level, which is what I always say. But Slug Entertainment, thank you for the $2. Shizzy loves crunchy and oily toes. I have heard that. Yeah. Thank you. And also tell him I said hi because I believe he's streaming right now. Kat Thompson, thank you for the 50. Oh my gosh. Lauren, this is a belated thank you for your 6.5-hour reading of the Justin B. lawsuit. Amazing stamina and humor. That was exhausting, but totally worth it. Thank you, Kat. I appreciate you very much. It's very generous. All right. Now, where do we go from here? Let's see. David says Mata cites Exhibit A28 in her ruling, but there is no Exhibit A28. So is that just like a miscitation? Maybe, I don't know.
It's most likely a miscitation, but we don't know where it actually goes because they're quoting the judgment, which is supposedly quoting from the deposition, and the quote from the judgment to the deposition is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how or where that came in, but
yeah. I don't know. I saw people tweeting about this, and I was just like, honestly, like this is so like. It's so like nitpicky that I'm just kind of like, I don't care. I know she lied. You know what I mean? So, give me 1 second. Let me see. Omar, I emailed you a link if you want it. I don't know if you're busy, but I'm sending it to you right now. All right. Okay, so we got through that. He states that Laura's deposition is in the record, but that Laura never said in her deposition that she admitted to doing this ever. She never said that. And here we have Marcus telling the Court of Appeals that she did. He says there's two possibilities. One, it's intentional fraud, which is hilarious. It's hilarious. Or a good faith error. He says he emailed Marcus about this, and there are other errors in the brief, so he's leaning towards intentional fraud. Oh, God. This is worse than when Laura called Clayton having her take a pregnancy test fraud. Like, because this is actual legal filing. David states he needs to talk to Marcus and give him an opportunity to explain. He hopes that Marcus will say it's a screw up. I shouldn't have put that in there. It's not true. And he's like, I guess he's like refusing to, what I'm gathering is that he's like refusing to move forward until that's corrected or whatever.
Yeah, so he does this a lot. If you remember when the allegations of Judge Mata's father being in the room came out, he sent an email and said, please describe this in detail. And they're like, well, if you want to submit a motion on something, you can do that, but it is inappropriate to just email the clerk of court and try and expect a response from the judge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in this case, it actually does make sense to email Marcus and be like, hey, by the way, I found this. But as someone was saying, that the idea that filing, or it was Hito was saying that when the ethical rule of candor was posted by Corey Keith, this lawyer in particular called it an unethical thing to do to try and file a notice of candor. But now this guy is standing on this idea that everyone needs to be ethical and is saying that it is needed at this point.
Yeah.
So if anyone else does it, it's unethical. But when he calls for it, it's ethical.
Yeah, that's fine. That makes total sense. Tiffany says, well, Omar, he called you an idiot again. Did that happen? I didn't hear that part.
He did.
Why? Where did that even come from?
It's actually in the first like 10 minutes of the video. He's like,
I'm not surprised.
And
He just
he
has Omar on the brain. You know what I mean?
He does an Omar impression too, which is kind of funny.
Oh, God. I feel like we have to see that. Where in the first... Hang on. Hold on.
Let me see if I can find it.
I want to observe this to give my opinion on whether or not this is a good Omar impression. This is a fair use conversational opinion standpoint. Hang on, give me 1 second.
It's like a 15-second bit. It's not like it's a long diatribe.
He's still an asshole, so he might, every now and then just decide to fuck with me just because he can. But I'm moving on, so I haven't been talking about these people much. Let's see, where is that? I have to search for Omar in the transcript. Hang on, guys. Omar.
25-28, I think. That's the first mention
here we go.
of Omar.
I don't know why he's still talking about Omar, like disrespecting the dead like that. Like, it's just crazy, man. All right, hang on. I think we got it here. This is so nutty every time. I'm just like, what is the obsession? Like, I kind of get it. Omar's a cool guy, but like, I'm not going to talk about him in every single video that I make. Hey, Rob, what's going on? All right.
Family law case.
Can you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Check.
Okay. Oh, Clayton also says that structural error doesn't apply in family court. Yeah. Good luck with that. Here's a family court case. Kentucky Supreme Court. Oh, and by the way, this one's for my buddy Omar. Omar is going to tell you that Kentucky and Arizona are not the same place, man. It's two different places. And I even remember Omar telling me one time, or not telling me because I never talked to the guy, but
wait, what do you mean
Omar
you never talked to the guy?
Said,
you definitely talked to the guy. What are you talking about? Hang on, let me go back 2 seconds. This is actually kind of like the deep voice thing is actually really funny. I'm sorry. I think it's funny, guys.
From places. And I even remember Omar telling me one time, or not telling me because I never talked to the guy, but Omar did a video where he said, Gingras, he's unethical because he cites cases from other places.
Did you say that was unethical?
If you're an idiot like Omar and you don't know what you're talking about, that might make sense. This is a published decision from the Supreme Court of Kentucky. It's published. It's not.
Anyway, you pause it.
Was that it?
That was it.
All right. That was actually for an impression of Omar. I don't know. I feel like he was really trying to hit the octaves there. you know, I don't know, but that's really weird. I don't think that because he's saying that Omar said he called him unethical or something. I didn't ever hear Omar say he was unethical because he's citing cases from other states. He might have said, that doesn't make sense.
It's not unethical, but it certainly didn't make sense.
No, and I never heard Omar say he's unethical because of that. I don't know if that's true. Like, I definitely don't think it is, but like, I don't remember every single thing Omar says. I'm not like David. So, I don't have a crush on Omar like David does. I mean, I have a bro crush on Omar, but that's it.
And David needs to post an ethical rule of candor saying that he never talked to Omar, because I remember very distinctly Omar going on live stream saying, I had an hour-long conversation with David Gingras, and I'm not going to disclose the contents of our conversation, but I will summarize it in this.
Yeah. No, he and David and Laura happened to be on the phone too once. I know he said that, but he never did disclose the details of that. So like, I feel like Omar is a pretty ethical person. I don't know, so that's just interesting, but it's I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. As far as the deep voice thing goes, I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm not gonna say 0 out of 10. I'm gonna say 5. What do you think?
For an Omar impression, I would say that'd probably be like a 6 out of 10.
All right,
because he got the cadence right, and he got the pitch.
Yeah, just the vibe. The vibe was a little off, but. Maybe I don't know if I could do it.
He's got the drunk out Santa.
What do you think, Brad? Mine's like.
Well, let me tell you, this is what my Omar Serrato voice is sounding like.
Oh, this is not cool. I'm like the only one who can't do it. I never had problems like having a deep voice until I'm trying to. You know what I mean? So it's ridiculous. Anyways, that was not the worst impression ever. If anybody has a worse Omar impression, please send it to me. I would love to see it. Okay. All right. So let's see. He's talking about the reply brief and preface. He states that he mentioned in his opening brief that Mata's ruling contained findings that were either contrary to the evidence, and I think I cut it off there, but he gives an example. What's up?
Look at chat.
Not unethical. Damn it, Omar. I told you you're going to get canceled if you keep using that word. I personally don't care, but that's awesome. Oh, man. Okay, let me close out this video just so it's not infecting my computer anymore. All right. That's so funny though. He gives an example that Mata said that Clayton said the pregnancy was impossible when he actually said the opposite. So I don't remember her citing that Clayton said the pregnancy was impossible.
That was in an email in June or July that Clayton said basically, I don't think it's even possible, but he said, but who am I to guess that there might have been a 1 in 1 billion chance that something could have happened and that you did become pregnant? But that was not a full admittance that it was, 100% real. That was speculation that the statistical anomalies do occur. But as the facts continued to roll in of, even though she had increased levels of HCG, she had done nothing to try and confirm a pregnancy, even after one person, or the lawyer likes to say that she was considering ending the pregnancy, but she filed a parenting plan and she didn't have to. And like all of these different things that just make it so weird in trying to do this PR campaign that isn't necessary.
Yeah, that's really crazy. Obviously, it's been going so well, though.
I mean, if you think so.
No, of course not. Okay. He gives an example, or sorry, not that. He also mentions Mata made findings that had no factual support, like the Planned Parenthood being closed on Sunday. So I've argued this until I was blue in the face that we haven't seen all the exhibits and everything. So his blog and his Twitter were included in exhibits. People have shown me evidence that people were tweeting about Planned Parenthood being closed on Sunday at him. People commented on his blog, and some of that was before the trial. So I don't know. I like to give that little shredded doubt there, but if she actually got that wrong, then she got it wrong. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't think it's enough to overturn the whole fucking case. I don't know. That's just me.
The funnier thing is, if she had kept the original date and the original location, then it wouldn't have been a problem. But even still, she couldn't produce the documents, and she had every necessity to disclose them from a motion to compel and from an order from the bench after the status conference hearing in February. And she didn't. So that's why she faces 25 349 and 25 415 sanctions.
Pam Arnold says, I think most women know most Sundays are closed. Well, the thing is, with a family law judge, you're probably going to be hearing Planned Parenthood a couple times at least. Maybe Planned Parenthood on a more intimate level. I don't know. I don't know anything about Judge Mata. But to me, I personally, I had no idea that, Planned Parenthood was closed on Sundays, but that's because I have nothing to do with it. So it just, I don't know. It just really depends. But like I said, this is a family court judge, so maybe she's got more insight into that than most people. It would be very easy to accidentally assume that because your local Planned Parenthoods are closed on Sunday, that all of them are closed on Sunday. That's kind of what I think. So I don't know. That's just me. All right. Okay. He says this is not going to fly and hopes Marcus will say it was a mistake. He explains that he and Marcus both have an ethical obligation to not make false statements. And he says this is a false statement. He's trying to determine if it's knowing or accidental. Okay. He's written the brief, he says, which is at the 7,000 word limit, that's a lot of words. He also wrote a 1,000 word preface to address this issue.
Right.
Okay. Every word that I don't get to focus on the merits and deal with crap like this, it is basically prejudicing and cheating Laura out of a fair opportunity to be heard. Okay. I mean
the funny thing is he posted the first page there. And I would say that almost all of that introduction was pointless because it it doesn't do a very good job of responding to the allegations. It's like trying to misdirect someone during a magic show, and you're doing something really cool with your hands here while you're trying to hide your other hand behind you.
Yeah. My dad likes those tricks. Okay, so I saw something about hang on, let's see. It was the page he shared, and it was like space related theme or something, super galactic lie
Yeah,
or
that
something like
thing.
that. Like, it's crazy. Let me see if I can find it.
I've got it open.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah, pull it up. Space commentary was just bizarre. Yeah. All right.
Draft numero uno. I scrubbed it down to the 7,000 word limit, excluding the preface I still want to add. And that's, we didn't know what the preface was, but now we know.
Yeah.
I'll share page 1 on Laura's approval. The weird thing that other people pointed out is if you read, the name of the document is First Draft for Laura.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, do you write separate drafts for different people?
I don't know. Maybe he writes that for all of his clients, like first draft for Bob or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea.
But I mean, we've already seen his organizational structure for how he lays out his files. Like it's in the appeal folder. So why would you need a first draft for Laura in there? But
I don't know, man. I to be honest, I haven't paid that much detailed attention to it. So yeah. What is it? Okay, can you read that? Because I can't really see it too well.
it is fair to say the parties and counsel have vastly different views of this case. Vast is an understatement of galactic proportions. The participants' view could not be more different than if Laura and Clayton were standing opposite sides of the known universe, 93 billion light years apart. At the same time, this case is not hard to decide. The law is clear, straightforward, and easy to apply. Many other courts have shown this to be true by stiffly reversing similar judgments in virtually identical situations. I've read so many of his things. He uses this language almost the entirety of all of his things.
Yeah. I kind of feel like this should be solved in an arcade or something.
Or playing Galactica. Just
yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
The outcome here really just depend on a simple question. Are rules of law and procedure more important than vengeance? We know Clayton's answer. Only vengeance matters. Rules are secondary. If this court shares that view, the reader can stop writing now. Why would the reader stop reading? The whole point is you got to go through the entire thing. Like if you're telling them, just stop here. This isn't a design your own adventure storybook.
Dude,
just be like, stop here.
Maybe you should make one of those. I would read it. Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I don't know. So when I read this, I'm just kind of like, this is very seemingly dramatic to me over something that is like very speculative, like the vengeance thing. Like if you want to call justice vengeance, I mean that's conflating those two things is ick for me. Vengeance, I don't think so. Like she was the one who brought this to court. All he wanted to do was, like prove that he did not do what he was accused of, basically.
Right.
And so that to me, that's not even vengeance. It's just that's the truth, and like he wants that definitive truth to be established so that he could point to it later on and say, no, she lied. That's just kind of what it looks like to me. But this like vengeance thing, the whole Greg Woodnick wants vengeance for the, the fake rape allegation or whatever. I heard that was mentioned in here somewhere.
I don't believe it was mentioned in this video. I think it was in a previous video.
Okay. So it was mentioned somewhere, but like the whole false, rape allegation against Greg and Greg, the way that like he just kind of glosses over that, I'm just like, that's kind of that's kind of a big deal to be making those allegations, and B, this really doesn't have anything to do with Clayton. Like, okay. Jim Schuler, I don't know if I read this yet. DG is Wiley E. Coyote if he was a lawyer. Thank you for the $2. And Jay Hip, thank you for the $2. Says, hey, buddy. Hi, Jay. How you doing?
What's up, Jay?
All right, let's see here. What else do we got? Let's I'm gonna dive into this real quick because well, actually, let's finish this first. David explains that if he adds the preface to the brief, it will go over the limit, so he may ask the court for more words, but would rather have Clayton's counsel correct the error. He references Corey Keith's notice of candor, which requires lawyers to not knowingly misrepresent anything to the court. He states there's no excuse. The only defense is I didn't know it was a mistake. He says, that he made a mistake once in a pleading where he said Dr. Medchill had a PhD, but he was just like, I think he was a PhD candidate, right? At one point. Right. Okay. And then that, I don't think, like, guys in the chat, if you can remember, I swear there was like another thing that like we like mocked him relentlessly for, where he like messed up a word and then we were just like, you lied because you said Greg lied, but he messed up a word. I swear there was something else. So just let me know in the chat if you remember what that was. All right. Okay. So he hopes that, Clayton's lawyers will do the right thing and tell the court they made a factual error. He says these errors don't matter to the outcome of the appeal. And he also says it doesn't matter if Laura lied about everything, which he's said many times. He says the information was included in the brief to cheat and win by making the judges think that Laura is crazy. Sir, you published on your personal website an article where your client is admitting to have severe mental health issues. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, you published your client's own little suicidal manifesto on your law firm's website. Not a law firm, but like his, business website or whatever. So how are you saying that they're trying to make her look crazy? And then, well, the reason I'm also saying that is because of this next part, which I haven't read yet. He said that Greg told him Laura was mentally ill, Greg Woodnick, when they first met, and that he was, scared of Laura because of that at first. And then he's saying now he knows that Laura is absolutely normal and that he thinks Greg Woodnick is trying to get revenge for the rape allegation. So again, the rape allegation comes into play here because it's like, you can't just gloss over that. You want to mention that and you want to say your client's not crazy, you better back that up. And second, again, on the blog, he puts out her horrible, like, I'm depressed, I'm not eating, I think about hurting myself type of thing that she wrote. And then you're like accusing him of basically, he's not outright, I don't think he's outright saying that he lied, but he's basically accusing Greg of like saying something that wasn't true, in my opinion. That's the vibe that I got from that.
Like trying to pull a wool over someone by making them think poorly of this individual. Right.
But the thing is, she is mentally ill by her own admission. So what are we talking about here?
I mean, I don't know how many times do you eat burritos and order Domino's for 6 months straight?
Well, it depends. Because she said she wasn't eating anything. So which one is it? Pick one. Pick one. I can tell you what one of those leads to, and it's not what she looks like right now. So, yeah. All right.
Oh, Tiffany says we forgot about the TISM.
We did forget about the TISM. She's kind of dropped that narrative lately, hasn't she?
Last I saw, she posted on a horse riding blog about how occupational therapy with horses helps with autistic folks.
I don't remember if I even read that or not. I at one point recently, I was just like, yeah, no, this is dumb. So I'm not reading that anymore. Okay. So he says that the technical issue has to be addressed before the reply is filed. So if Marcus doesn't fix the error that David is perceiving here, he'll bring it up with the Court of Appeals and will file a bar complaint. Okay. He says there's no excuse. he's been made aware of the problem occurred, so Marcus has to do the right thing. And if Marcus doesn't do the right thing, it's not okay. And David is saying that he can file a request to extend the time for the reply brief to be filed if he doesn't get satisfaction by Wednesday. But like, this seems like, I don't know if this is actually like a legitimate reason to extend. Like, no. That to me just does not seem like, so like, if what happens there? He makes that complaint, and then what? What happens if he makes that complaint?
So the weird thing is that appeals are not for arguing of facts,
right?
But he wants to hold the appeal for an arguing over a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had issue with Judge Mata's ruling, then he should have made that in the immediate issue after that.
Mm-hmm.
And by now trying to say that his whole appeal is at jeopardy because of this one-line fact item in this appeal is kind of blowing things way out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
Because he brings up this case that he cites, and it talks about how a judge asked for someone's social security number to look up their criminal history while they were ongoing matters of a domestic violence restraining order. And sure, a criminal history for someone who's getting a domestic violence restraining order would most likely be a pretty serious thing when you consider it. And when you go back to the case that he cited from the American Bar Association about doing a Google search on the hours of a diner when discussing overtime for a suit, then that would play a significant role. Mm-hmm. However, the opening hours of Planned Parenthood do not come into question if his client had actually properly disclosed a location for discovery requests to actually be sent. So it really is not a issue at fact. And do I agree that judges should be allowed to go Google search anything that they want? No, I don't.
Right.
And does that mean that Judge Mata may actually face something from the Judicial Commission based on having done that?
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible that she could face something from that, because in his mind, we don't want triers of fact to take information from outside of a case to help decide part of the case. And he cites that jurors are told, don't do independent research about this case on the internet or anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And that's true. And that's a landmark piece of how we do it. Right. But in this particular instance, it does not sway the case over a line one or the other in regards to the issue at hand. Right.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Random question. Have you ever been on jury duty?
I have not. I was on a potential pool that you have to call in and be like, am I needed tomorrow? And they go, nope, you're not needed. Yeah. So I did that for a week, and then that was that.
No. I got summoned once, and I had to go all the way to the courthouse in Green Cove, which is like a 30 to 40 minute drive from me. And we had to sit there until, they had actually, dismissed it before we had to do anything, but we still had to go, and we had to sit there early in the morning. And I was like, I'm missing work for this. Are you serious? But it's like, if you actually needed me on jury duty, fine. But I hated that I had to go all the way out there just for them to be like, go home. Like, are you going to pay for my gas? Like, what? What is it? Like $9 that you get for responding to a jury summons per day? I don't remember. It was this was in like 2018 or 19 or something. I'm not really sure. So yeah. That was,
it doesn't cover gas. It doesn't do anything. So it's like I just wasted an entire day having to spend most places will give you some kind of time off for responding to jury duty, but you have to submit your $9 or whatever they give you for the day as proof that you actually went.
Yeah. At $9, that's really going to stretch it out for the whole day.
Yeah. It doesn't even cover lunch.
No, definitely not. Okay. So he's like mad at Woodnick. He says, "You're not going to sandbag me." And I'm like, "You're still mad at Woodnick. Like, Marcus is the one who wrote the brief. Like, why do you have to?" Again, I don't know if you were here when I said, I feel like he's doing a dick measuring contest with someone who does not want to see his penis. So he's like, "Please leave me alone." And David's just like, "Come here." But yeah, that's what that seems like to me. Okay. So he thinks that basically he says that Clayton's brief was kind of crap. He didn't use those words, but he says that his case against Clayton's brief, it would take 5 minutes to argue and it's a slam dunk. But he's always kind of exaggerating in his favor, so I don't really know what to make of that. He's talking more about harmless versus structural error, which I'm going to skip over. I feel like that's something for somebody like Omar to talk about, somebody who understands more about like specific laws and like these cases that he's citing. He talks a little bit more about just like his life and Laura's life. I think he showed a picture of her riding horses or something.
He showed a small video clip of her doing jumps at a competition, but then he says this might have not even been this past weekend. This might have been an old video, and it's like, well, then why are you showing it?
Okay, then. So I really wanted to ask you this because I didn't totally understand it. So the thing about the bar guy, what's going on with that?
So the bar guy, in December, bar guy asked the lawyer for responses and said, "Hey, you've got 10 days to respond to this particular thing."
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, the lawyer thinks that it was supposed to be written to Mike as a way to try and dig the lawyer out of an issue, because according to the lawyer, he says that all of the information that was asked was already provided in a previous response.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the problem comes is if the lawyer is Laura's counsel, then he would be the one in charge of understanding and figuring out what the status of the DVRO is or was.
Mm-hmm.
From that point of view. He may have not been the attorney of record for the proceeding itself, but in trying to make the claim that the DVRO is active and should still be followed through on, then you would at least have some kind of knowledge about, is it sealed? Is it not sealed? You could ask your client, hey, is it sealed? Is it unsealed? Or you could ask the court yourself, I am the representative for this in a different matter, and I need to understand and know, is this a sealed case or not?
Yeah. Gotcha.
But as her attorney, he would be the one to know and be able to find out those things. But for some reason, he thinks bar guy wanted to ask Mike about that.
Mm-hmm. All right, then. I mean, that doesn't really add up to me.
It doesn't. And the way that he brought it up, he thinks that he wants Mike to dig him out of a hole, and it doesn't make any logical sense.
No, that's so random. Oh, man.
And then we get into the next big thing, which is just as wild, if not more so.
Let's see. So we're talking about the bar guy here, and then there was let's see. Oh, about Dave?
About Mata.
About Mata. Okay. My notes might be out of order, man.
No, you're good.
Where do you want what are we talking about here?
So in talking about Mata,
I know what you're talking about now. Go ahead, God.
So in talking about Mata, and for whatever reason, it was in trying to discuss judicial misconduct, he makes this false or this allegory about, well, if we had a male judge and Laura was giving him handies in the parking lot, wouldn't you think that that would be bad? And the insinuation is that whatever he believes that Mata was doing is somehow equivalent.
Yeah. What the fuck?
It's like, how do you even get to that line? One, two, you have no knowledge as to whether or not Judge Mata knew of Clayton Echard before this case, but you somehow pull this out of your rear end that she is somehow fangirling behind the scenes, and is so proud of being able to handle his family court case, where he's probably feeling the most embarrassed in his life outside of being on national television in front of millions of people, and then having them completely excoriate him online for being a terrible guy.
Yeah. Oh my god. This is so crazy. I can't believe you said that. Because I listened to your voice note earlier and I was like, what are you talking about? Oh my god, that's so crazy though. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe that. It would be like a male judge having sexual, contact with Laura in a parking lot. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. And why would you choose your client? Why couldn't you just say any random Jane Doe and a judge? But no, you had to make it about your client, because you're trying to attach people's emotions to disliking your client. And you don't need to go there. All you had to do is make a story about a judge receiving sexual favors from a potential, or from someone in a trial that they're overseeing. But no, you had to go ahead and take it that extra mile and make it about your client in a sexual way, which, no, that's not a very nice thing to do.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. And there's been some weird guys stuff on Twitter lately also, where he was like suggesting that Greg's fiance would be deported for some reason.
The Twitter stuff, he's basically saying that Trump's going to deport Greg's wife because she is Hispanic American, and
it's not how that works, but all right. I mean, people are really up in arms about the immigration issue now, I understand, but like at the same time, it's like, where did that even come from? Like, was she even born outside the United States? And even so, like, did she immigrate legally? Like, what's the problem,
Who knows? But she has a child with an American citizen, so the likelihood of her being deported is pretty small at the moment.
Also, they're getting married, so like, what the fuck? That was just the weirdest thing I've seen in a long time from his Twitter. Anyways, I guess I haven't been paying close enough attention, but so here's our friend Hito, who does the Reddit recaps, and Hito, as you guys know, was threatened with the subpoena that was sent to Reddit. David says that he feels entitled to her personal information. So rather than sending a DM, he went and did all the work to send a subpoena, which Reddit is fighting. Basically, after Reddit responded, he was like, the kid from Reddit made all these errors and stuff like that. So I'm like, is there any point at any time where you might recognize and acknowledge that another lawyer has some knowledge? No. Because the way he talks about everybody, it just makes it so clear that this is like a narcissistic person who cannot be reasoned with. Where's Omar? I invited Omar, but he's putting his kids to bed, so he cannot come on right now. Lame, right? All right. Let's see. Disclaimer, this post discusses the publicly available YouTube video released by David on January 26th on his YouTube channel under his name. Please go to his YouTube channel if you would like to see his video in all its entirety. I mean, I hate that she even has to write that, like, but we all know that's common sense. It's just this guy's using it against her for some reason. All right. I'm gonna skim over the notes here. Okay. Purpose, reason for delay. So she's giving her opinions in response to his stuff. So she says the reason for delay is that David confesses he didn't look at the facts cited in the response because he already knew them, and instead chose to focus on going through the case law and checking the Supreme Court rulings to see if there were any new rulings that may have negated the stance that he was arguing in the appeal. He claims that Marcus did not point out anything new or important in his response, but apparently after writing up his entire reply, he suddenly noticed a technical problem that could dismantle his case, as according to him, Marcus' response contains inaccurate information that could potentially impact the appellate court's decision were they to consider the piece of information as fact. So this is Hito's opinion. She's like breaking it down like that. Very, very well organized, very well thought out, because nobody wants to be sued for $150,000 here over something that's not worth any money. Okay. So she says, let me get this straight. In January 10th YouTube video, when you read part of the response brief, you were extremely dismissive, kept saying blah, blah, blah. And so what? I thought this attitude was just for show for the sake of Laura and your public audience, but that you would go through the document in great detail in private. However, you now confess that you, as the lawyer for your client, didn't look at the facts presented because you apparently knew everything about this case. Never mind the fact that when people tell you about things that happen in the order of protection and injunction against harassment hearings, which were considered in this case, you have stated these were ahead of my time. So clearly, you don't know everything. And only now, at the tail end of the window for your reply, do you suddenly see this finding and consider it factual error. The situation you're currently in is actually of your making, and it is a result of your overconfidence and hubris in this case. Instead of going through the ruling with a fine-tooth comb and arguing any facts that were either not included in court findings, which you did so with the Planned Parenthood LARs, or were factually incorrect and could be backed as factually incorrect with court findings, you chose to construct your entire appeal on Rule 26, which wasn't even utilized for the sanction in this case, as it was withdrawn, and sanctions were requested under different Arizona revised statutes and rules. But seeing as you think you have a slam dunk argument in your reply, I will hold judgment on this matter until I read your brief. In the Planned Parenthood LA finding, which I still contend is a harmless error, not a structural error, we will see how the appellate court interprets that matter. Now, simply because Marcus brought it up, you want to argue that this piece of information is factually incorrect. You should have brought this up from the very beginning in your appeal brief, and this sudden indignation, in my opinion, makes you look incompetent, irresponsible, and foolish because you didn't do your due diligence and bring up this factual error or any other factual errors that you may have noticed in the ruling beforehand in your original appeal brief. I just like the way that she's writing this is so funny because she's like so nice. Like, this person's usually so nice and like not trying to be argumentative at all, but the way that she's writing this, like, you're foolish, is just like, it's getting me a little bit. All right. 1 second. Caitlin Boyd, thank you for the 10. Hey, Lauren, congrats on the podcast. When did you know the real baby was born? Happy and healthy after your stream the other weekend with Snitzel Ninja. Thanks for distracting me from labor. Well, thank you so much for coming back and letting us know how it went. I'm glad that everything turned out well, and I hope you guys are doing okay. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate that. We were doing that 6.5 hour stream the other night reading the Baldoni documents, and Caitlin there was in labor while that was happening. So that was pretty crazy.
I still have no idea how to take that case. Like, I can't even think about all the things that are going on. It is just...
I read the initial complaint from Blake, and then I read the complaint from Justin, and then since then I've just been kind of like following the headlines and giving opinions on that when necessary. But like, I'm not really like hyper analyzing anything, So like, when I first read Blake's complaint, I had people in my comments who were like, this and that, but Justin said this and that. And if you see his complaint, I was like, listen, I haven't even formed an opinion yet. And then when I read Justin's, I was like, oh shit, there's a lot more to this story than I thought. And I still don't totally understand all of it, especially when it comes to the PR people or the PR people and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm just kind of basically just like reading whatever comes out and just trying to figure it out from there. So like, I don't know the background a lot about Justin or Blake. I mean, I know them from TV shows that I watched, but I don't know that much about them. So yeah. Passive aggressive writing is my forte. Yeah. That's my favorite kind of writing. All right. The inaccurate information, according to David. On page 39 of the response, when discussing issue 2, Laura has not shown prejudicial error by judicial misconduct. The response states, regardless of the source of the wrongly attributed statement about the operating hours, Laura repeatedly lied about the date and location of the visit. Even if the court accepted Laura's trial testimony as true, that she went to Planned Parenthood on July 2nd and obtained an ultrasound, Laura had already admitted to altering the image and to providing Clayton a 7-year-old sonogram video of twins she obtained online months earlier. And then here's the source again. The bolded text is what David has an issue with because he claims this information is factually incorrect. All right, I'm waiting for this to
Well, it's the bold text above the hyperlink that.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the quote.
I see. Yeah, this is just the whole appeal response document. Okay. All right. After noting this citation from Marcus, David goes to the linked document, which is Judge Mata's ruling made on June 17th. On page 12, she has a bullet point that states petitioner provided respondent with a sonogram that was posted on YouTube 7 years ago. Petitioner admitted to this during her deposition. Exhibit A28. And that's what we were talking about earlier, where it was like maybe this was just a citation error. But okay. Is that really why you can't get your job done on time? I don't. Okay. Sure. David goes into the original trial case documents to look up the exhibit, which links to Woodnick's press release statement, which apparently wasn't admitted to court. He does state, however, that Laura's trial deposition was an exhibit, and it was admitted to court, so he attributes this to a citation error. Note, we have never had access to Laura or Clayton's deposition. Well, we had clips, because David posted them on YouTube for reasons that are unknown, because they were really not that helpful to his case, but sure. Okay. Yep. He says Mata ain't a pillar of accuracy in her fact-finding here. Okay, sir. Sure.
People make errors, and it's okay to make errors. And that's why they're called Scribner's errors, is because, you misstate something, you spell something wrong. Oh, well, It happens.
Mm-hmm. Ziani says it's in the release portion. Check the Padlet. What is? Not sure what is.
There's deposition transcript pieces that are posted.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought you meant like the videos. I was like, okay. Where?
No.
All right. I can't give a strong opinion here. This is Hito. On account that I don't have the deposition. And unfortunately, just as David doesn't consider Judge Mata to be credible, I don't consider David or Laura to be credible. I think Marcus had every right to cite that finding because it's an official ruling. And while David took the time and effort to refute the Planned Parenthood LA hours finding and how it wasn't in the court records, he took no time or effort until now to refute any other aspect of the ruling, including the statement from Judge Mata that he now considers factual error. Therefore, Marcus could easily take it as fact and present it as such.
One of the interesting things about appeals is that they say that, well, you can't appeal facts in there, but there are very small cases where you can, in a criminal case, try and appeal a judgment based on the finding that there is no logical way a jury could have found a particular case because of facts either in or not in evidence. And if he was to an appeal and say the judgment here could not have been made in the way it is, because if you go back to the deposition transcript, she didn't actually admit to this. Right. So that would be one case where you could try and make that claim. However, he chose to make his appeal on the structure of the case versus the facts of the case. And now he finds that, I need to try and assert that these facts aren't proper, especially when he's been basically arguing none of the facts since having taken the case.
Yeah. Julia Ann says, how do y'all feel that Laura as a viewer in these streams feels like a long game of Among Us? Yeah, I don't know. She gives me most of my watch hours, so I'm not really worried about it. Let's see. Where do we go here? I'm not going to read this entire post word for word, but I will link to it in the chat here in case you guys want to read it all yourself. Okay, let's see. David states his reply is completely written up and will blow Clayton's response out of the water. He feels Marcus citing this information would imply that Laura actually admitted such in a deposition, and the Court of Appeals will not like Laura very much with that piece of information. Reasons behind error. David states that there are two possibilities as to how this situation arose. Either Marcus/Woodnick are deliberately lying to the court. Of course, he says that. And committing intentional fraud. He claims that he can see this from Woodnick, who is one of the most unethical people ever. Really. Really. But he wants to give Marcus the benefit of the doubt. Or it was just cited in error. So, one of the most unethical people ever. By what measure, dude? Like, in what world? Like, you're representing someone who falsely accused that man of rape in an ex parte email to the judge, who regularly abuses like law enforcement systems that are needed to help other people who actually have problems. Like, and you think Greg Woodnick is one of the most unethical people ever. That is bizarre to me.
Does he have anything to back that up? I know that he can't file a bar complaint against someone during ongoing litigation, but
Right.
does he go to the local watering hole and talk with other lawyers and they say, oh yeah, that Woodnick guy, he's a fucking terrible guy.
I don't know, man.
He did all of these unethical things. Like, does he have something to actually back that up, or is it just between his interactions with them? Because quite frankly, it seems like everyone is throwing bar complaints around and talking about unethicalness, but someone's
Right.
got to weed through it all and figure out what the hell is actually going on.
Yeah. No, I've never seen any legitimate complaint about Greg Woodnick that he's, said. It's just always just like he's lying or he said this or that. And it's like a small like wording thing
Mhm.
where he can kind of try to twist it another way. And I'm like, the fact that you were trying to say this man is unethical and lying is absolutely fucking insane. But okay. Let's see. David emailed Marcus, and he hopes Marcus will admit he should not have cited the comment, even if the court made the finding. Dude. Because it's a false finding of fact. Okay. And David wants Marcus to remove the statement because it's the ethical thing to do. Very much like Corey Keith filing his notice of candor, which David actually considered incorrect and unethical. Okay. We're going in a lot of different directions here. There's so much hypocrisy. He believes that it is not his responsibility to correct this issue. It is prejudicing to have to address this argument in his brief and is cheating Laura out of a fair opportunity to be heard. Okay, sure. Hida's opinion, once again, without actually knowing whether the statement can be attributed to the deposition, I can't actually provide an opinion on whether it is a false finding of fact. Yes, I'm aware that she sent that ultrasound to Clayton and that it was a reverse image search and traced back to an ultrasound dated 7 years ago. But because I don't have the deposition document, I cannot say for certain whether she was asked about that ultrasound in her deposition and what she stated if she was questioned about it. At the same time, I unfortunately can't take Laura or David's word because of their lack of credibility in the past. However, what I am curious about is why David is so furious about this fact, especially if he already has 1,000-word pleading against the argument already prepared. He may be worried about the delay that will occur if he has to request an extension in the word count of his reply, or if it's not granted, how he will restructure his brief to include that argument within his 7,000-word limit. However, I'm speculating, and if David is allowed to spout off his theories, then so am I, that if he has to justify why he's requesting to make his reply longer, the appellate court may point out the same thing I am in this post. Why didn't you notice this issue until now? Why didn't you bring it up in your original appeal? Okay. Countless times in this video, David talks about how incredible his reply brief is. Some of the ways in which he describes it is dunk, it's not a big enough word. This factual error won't actually matter to the outcome of the appeal, especially after you read my reply brief. If the Court of Appeals isn't swayed by the bullshit and the lies, it won't take longer than 5 minutes to address everything. It will be a slam dunk, a home run. The Court of Appeals will love my Rule 26 argument. This ruling will be a piece of cake. The JFC community will feel like effing idiots. Again, I'm just going to say this one more time, and this is coming from me, not Hito. I don't personally care about technicalities that could get someone out of this, like, in a legal proceeding. Everybody knows that she lied, and what she actually did, like, the damage to these men's lives is, unfortunately irreversible. Like, they've moved on, and they have, well, not Clayton yet, but they have wives and children, most of them. And it's just not fair to say, like, none of that matters. So, I don't know. I'm not going to feel like an effing idiot if, like, Laura were to somehow win this appeal. We still know she lied. So, no, I'm not going to feel bad about that. I'm not going to feel dumb. He does go on to say that it doesn't matter if Laura lied. It would make no legal difference. And that's why he finds this type of bullshit from Marcus/Woodnick inexcusable. It serves no purpose other than to try to cheat and win and make the judges think that Laura's crazy. Laura is a little crazy. That's my opinion. All right. He also claims Woodnick told him Laura was mentally ill and crazy, but David states that Laura is perfectly normal and that Woodnick may just be trying to get revenge against Laura due to the allegations she made against him while he was representing Greg Gillespie. Ooh, hiccups. Again, I mean, we've talked about the mentally ill thing. Like, he, on his own blog, has published his client's entire mental illness, so shut the fuck up. All right. And Hito's opinion on that is, apparently this reply brief is just so amazing, it's practically heaven sent. And David is just the image of the most perfect and competent lawyer in the world. So incredible that it only took him the weekend before his reply brief was due to realize that he found fault with one of Judge Mata's findings of fact in her judgment ruling issued months ago. Honestly, David, if you have issue with Judge Mata's findings of fact from her judgment ruling, you can't just state that. You need to freaking prove it. And the fact that you did not structure your original appeal brief around all the facts that you refuted, probably because you didn't bother to actually go through the ruling with a fine-tooth comb and believe your Rule 26/Planned Parenthood LA arguments were just the most amazing arguments since sliced bread, highlights your shortcomings and your sheer hubris in this case. You cannot blame everyone else for the fact that you did not do your due diligence towards your client in this case. As for the amazingness of your reply brief, David, I reserve judgment until I actually read the document. So forgive me for not taking your word about how wonderful it is.
Although the funny thing is you take the statements that Hito cited above, you look at the phrasing there, and it kind of reminds you of someone who this particular lawyer vehemently despises. you scroll back up.
Yeah, one sec. Sorry, I lost my tab there for a sec because I have so many open.
You're good.
Vehemently despises.
Dunk is not big enough word. This factual error won't actually matter to the outcome of this appeal, especially if you read my reply brief. If the Court of Appeals isn't swayed by the bullshit and lies, it won't take longer than 5 minutes to address it. It'll be a slam dunk, a home run. The Court of Appeals will love my Rule 26 argument. This ruling will be a piece of cake. The JFC community will feel like effing idiots.
I wonder, who does that sound like?
I don't know.
Donald Trump.
Help.
Your
Okay.
chat.
That's what I thought you were getting at, but
Yeah.
I wasn't positive. Okay. And I also was not reading the chat. So.
My wife walked in while I started watching this video, and she goes, "He's a Trump supporter?" I was like, "No, he despises Trump with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns."
Yet he has a Trump Pence sign.
Why does he have a Trump Pence sign in the back of this?
Weird. So random. Yeah, no, I thought that's what you were getting at. I was like, for sure this has to be Donald Trump, but then at the same time I was like, if it's not, I'm gonna piss off a lot of people. You know, you can't like make jokes sometimes about politics these days without people getting mad. So I was like, oh, I better not say the wrong thing. Jay Bird, thank you for the 5. This is my first super chat. Just wanted to say I love you, Lauren, your content. Just wanted to support you. Thank you very much. I love you too. I appreciate it. And I thank you for being here through all these streams. So Chris dresses like Trump. I mean, whatever that means.
He's got a tan like Trump. Whether you think that's an insult or a compliment is take it as you will, but
guys, can I get a favor from everyone in the chat right now? If you love our friend Hito Izakura, who does these recaps on Reddit, who has been threatened by this attorney with the subpoena, trying to get her personal information, please put hearts in the chat for Hito. I'm sure she will appreciate that when I spam her with screenshots of it. All right. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything else I want to read tonight because I'm very tired, to be honest. It's like almost midnight. And I'm going to bed earlier these days. So I probably won't read the rest of this. I'll leave that for you guys to read on the JFC subreddit. So, oh, good. We're seeing lots of hearts. That's good. I don't know if I think I did tell you guys. There's actually 2 cases in What the Hales that I'm going to be covering live in person in, let's see, today's the 26th. So it's going to be it's like 10 days away.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so it's like 10 days from now. I'm going to be, so I had the thumbnail case, and then there's another case happening directly after that. Same judge, same courtroom, I guess. So I'll be there covering that. So I just wanted to remind you guys to look out for that. So hold on. Only half the country hates Trump. Everyone hates Baby Jiggy. Gonna swim tomorrow after work. Yeah, after work. I'm not gonna get up early because I have to go to the doctor in the morning anyway. So I'm not gonna that. Anyways, about the Hales case, why I was bringing that up is I'm going to send you over to my friend Shizzy Wisnet, who is apparently covering something related to that. I still don't really know anything about the federal case. I have kind of focused in on the state cases because that's what I could actually go to. It's like a couple hours away from me. So, yeah, but thanks everybody for the love and for being with us. Can we stalk you? I mean, maybe. I don't know if you can find me. At least like buy me dinner first. Okay, so I'm sending over to my friend Shizzy Wisnet. Please put lots of bacon emojis in his chat and tell him that Lethal Lauren 904 sent you. And I will see you guys next time, maybe Tuesday. Because tomorrow, don't forget, I'm going to be on Buck Angel's show, probably around 3 p.m. Eastern. If that changes, I'll let you guys know. But I will see you guys soon. Bye.
Yep. See you.